On today's episode of Watch JR Go, we are back with my new to me 2006 Bentley Continental Flying Spur that I bought for only $12,000. And the seller told me it just needed keys. The seller lied. What is going on, guys? I am Watch JR Go, and in yesterday's video, of course, my 2006 Bentley Continental showed up and we started taking a look at this thing. We got some power in it. We started trying to do a little bit of troubleshooting, and then I spent the next 12 hours doing all of the troubleshooting in the world to get into the first, I don't know, 1/64th of the troubleshooting on this car. It is an absolutely insane vehicle, but I bought it cheap because the seller said it was all good to go, but it needed keys. And that was based on him putting one key in and seeing the display say Immobilizer active, and then putting another key in and it's saying nothing. Well, that turns out not to be the case. So first, let's head to O'Reilly's and get some parts. All right, more Bentley troubleshooting at O'Reilly's here. I've got the keys, and neither one of these things is lighting up, and the manual says the lights should turn on. So I think both keys are dead. Let's see if putting a battery in it makes the Immobilizer work. Howdy. What's going on? Hey. Back again to work on these. Oh. And now our Bentley keys work. And we tested them to make sure they both transmit. They both do. Let's go put them back in the car and see if anything happens. Oh, my knife slipped while I was opening the keys up. You guys know how that goes. Okay, the transmitters in the keys work. That is awesome. Even though there's two separate circuits in pretty much every smart key, as you guys should know, you have your RFID for comfort access and proximity, and then of course you have a completely separate radio transmitter that is used to lock and unlock your vehicle. Or even better, in new cars, it's two-way. This one even confirms lock and unlock. But we do know my Bentley keys check out on the test bench at O'Reilly's, and as soon as I got them back here with some power on the car, lo and behold, they will both lock and unlock the car. So they have been programmed to the car. They're also cut correctly for the car. So we kept going. We put a key in the Bentley and we hooked it up to the Autel Maxi IM, the key programming one, the 608, and we started reading out the Immobilizer. We are out here in basically the middle of the night, working away, trying to get the keys to respond on this car. And of course, you guys already know the issue, Immobilizer active when I put in the old key, and we were able to read the old key, which is good, but we were not able to, or well, we haven't even tried this one. And we also pulled the RFID from the old key, and that worked. V-dub. Start. Fun. Also, nothing supports Bentleys. That's what I've learned today. Since I worked on this thing all day, I decided we better go get some books. So I went to, you know, the place where we could get all data and Identifix. And Identifix has zero information about this car. It actually won't even pull the VIN. And All Data has even worse. They don't even allow Bentley on All Data. You can't go into the B's. There's no Bentley listed. That is kind of where we're ending up at the end of day one. The car powers up and there's not much more. Hey, okay. Well, that's...
Let's... You got your phone?
Yeah.
So we have two keys that will report they are locked. They're not open. That means they are coded to some vehicle.
Yeah, and this one ends in 649. I wonder if that unlock key button does anything.
That's what the car's going to recognize. The key ID in that slot would be that. Unlock it is like for BMW. Yeah. If I programmed for that and I have the same car, I can take the same CS codes or ISN and unlock that remote, and then that way we could reuse it for another.
Oh, okay.
But it has to be married to the same key or the same vehicle, and we have to have it present, obviously. Unless I read and wrote flash data and a bunch of stuff and say pro.
And the next thing we found out from the Autel Maxi IM here, the Kessy module. The Kessy module is the Immobilizer for this thing. And they do have instructions in here on how to pull it out, get it on the bench, and where to apply power and where to get the data pins into the key rewrite tool over there. I think the XP04, whatever that is. XP400. Then you can talk to the Immobilizer on the bench, which is more than we can do right now because this thing is being a pain. So this is a wild car. And after working all night in the freezing cold temps until we couldn't feel our hands and toes, we found that this original Bentley key here shows that it is not programmed properly to the car. It will lock and unlock it if I use these buttons. There's no battery connected right now, but this one does work, and you can see the little LED there in the corner respond. We know all of that checks out. This is probably one of the original keys to the car, and it's actually, it fits together well, but this one does not authenticate in the Immobilizer. Now there's this brand new key, and this one works perfectly. It does everything correctly in the Immobilizer. Everything checks out, but the ECM does not respond. I'm sure you guys are already understanding what happened here because this key is brand new. There's hardly a scratch on it. The buttons are in perfect shape. And this is an X-Rooster key, which is a clone, a knockoff, not an original Bentley key, which is unfortunate. That's already a bad sign, but it does mean that somebody has gotten in here and reprogrammed the Kessy. Kessy stands for keyless entry start stop module. No idea why they threw a Y in there, just to make it a word, I guess. But this one is programmed properly, and the car does want to start on this key, but the ECM doesn't respond. And there's so much more in the chain before that. You would think, okay, cool, so there's a module that controls all of the comfort access, proximity keys, all that stuff, and that starts the car. No, that starts a conversation. And there's a lot of things that have to happen before this car starts. So anyway, right out of the gate, we have confirmed that this key works perfectly. Everything's programmed right. There is no key problem as far as I can tell. Now, I'm not 1000% sure. There's a chance there could still be an issue with the key and Kessy conversation. But from what we can tell with the live data from the Immobilizer, we're good to go here. So there is not a key problem, and somebody's already gone down that rabbit hole trying to fix this and throwing this $99 key at the car instead of the Bentley key, which is, I think, $1,600 for the bare key. Bentley charges almost $2,000 for each key for this car. So that's absolutely out of control. I'm glad that they make fakes, but I've heard the fakes are very unreliable. And unfortunately, that is what this is. And it was confirmed by the fact that the Bentley key had a real battery in it, an Energizer or a Duracell or something like that. And when I opened this one up, it had a Chinese battery in it. So that's basically a guarantee. And also, the way they cut this thing, first, it doesn't open right. The Chinese keys don't open very well, just like that. And the way the key blade's cut, it's not really deburred and it catches on your fingers. So, you know, somebody tried, and it is new. Since we started troubleshooting exactly where the seller told me to, and we quickly found out that that's likely not the problem, we get to start at ground zero on this car, which is, of course, getting power into it, the battery system. And for that, we need to head straight to this live meeting I'm hearing is just happening right now at Bentley headquarters. Let's go over there. Well, the new Bentley Continental is huge, and it consumes a lot of power. We've got heated seats, cooled seats, massage seats, heated wheels, heated windshield, you know, on and on and on. What should we do to power this car?
My thought is installing the Large Hadron Collider in the trunk.
It's a pretty big trunk, but we don't have enough room.
Okay, instead of the LHC, how about two 12-volt batteries?
That's a good idea, and we'll hook them both together so this car runs forever. We'll have so much power in the back of that trunk.
No, we should use one battery to power everything in the car and one battery just to start the car.
This is a pretty good idea, but how will we charge two batteries?
What about an alternator?
Can't do that. That makes way too much sense, and we have to sell service. You understand, like the techs have to get paid. So if we connect both batteries to the alternator, it'll just be simple. It's gonna need to be more complicated.
Two alternators.
It's not a diesel truck. We just don't have room for two alternators on this engine. I mean, it's so small. We just don't have room in the engine bay. What about a DC to DC converter that only a computer can manage, and once the alternator starts charging our main car battery, then the DC to DC converter kicks in and even more confusingly charges the starting battery at 16 volts instead of some normal like 14 volts that people would expect.
Ah, now you're talking.
I think the techs are gonna love this, and especially the consumers. They'll totally understand why we made absolutely nothing work. It just doesn't seem confusing enough. Obviously the car is going to start normally with its main battery, but what will we do to confuse everybody that has to like get the car out of tricky situations?
If you turn the key clockwise, the car uses the normal battery. if you turn the key anti-clockwise, the car uses the starter battery.
That is genius. And once the car starts on the starter battery, that will kick on the alternator and then cause the car to run normally again after it charges the main battery. And then the main battery strangely charges the second battery with its 16-volt converter.
Genius.
I think this could work. Let's ship it. Promotions for everyone.
I still think the large hadron collider could be looked into.
This could really work out. Let's go sell some Bentleys. Wow, an absolutely riveting look into a real meeting at Bentley headquarters about the design of the Bentley Continental. Obviously, we're just kidding, but also obviously all of these things are absolutely true about the car. As some of you guys already know, there is 2 batteries in the trunk, 2 ECUs to manage the W12, a battery control computer, a DC to DC converter that does charge this battery at 16 volts instead of 12, which is basically insanity. There are 2 BCMs. Power comes from all over the place. One of these relays in the back of the car is the starter relay. This thing just goes on and on and on, blowing my mind. Now, I've been looking at the diagrams basically non-stop, and this relay here has been replaced. And it's either this relay or this relay that are the actual start relays here. So I'm gonna take a quick look, pull these out, see if maybe this one that has a Mercedes logo on it is the wrong relay for the car. And let's see what we come up with. I do need to get these batteries on chargers. They're both new. That one is 2 of 22, that one's 6 of 22. So they should be in good shape. Obviously somebody just tried to do some more troubleshooting on it, but it seems like that troubleshooting didn't go very well. So I decided, why don't I sit down in these beautiful Bentley seats and enjoy myself while I think about what could be wrong with this car. And as you guys can see in this clip, we tried all of the buttons in the center console and they didn't work. Here's something interesting. I turned on the lights and the center console, the only buttons that matter, you know, I said the hazards don't work. None of it works. And not a single one of these buttons responds, but the rear heated seats work. It's looking like a heck of a problem. So next order of business, either the front BCM is not powering all of this because it all gets its power out of that, or there's something wrong with the switch assembly. Now the front BCM not getting power was the next thing that I thought. It gets its power from the starter battery fuse distribution block that sits on top of the battery, and those are actually metal fusible links that you can see quickly. So you don't even have to do any troubleshooting, just like look at it, and if it hasn't exploded, it's probably good. So I came up to the front and I thought, let's just take the center console apart. Guess what we found? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody has been in here destroying this thing. Every connector in that console is unhooked. What on earth? I mean, the mirrors are actually hooked up, but they don't work. I don't get it. Somebody's been in here going crazy. We've got the Bentley's battery hooked back up. It's really the only way to do this. It needs a ton of power to be properly troubleshot. And as soon as I hit the hazard switch, it came on. So we're making good progress. Radio's on, it knows the keys here. So in a moment, we're gonna fire up the Autel here, see what we can get out of this thing data-wise. We'll shut these hazards back off so you don't have to listen to that. And hopefully crank this thing over. We have the same nothing. Sunshade works now, that's something. We're talking, baby! This thing is returning so much information, and I only brought the 808. I didn't even bring the big scanner. I've got the old school because it's the one that was in my garage. Look at all these codes popping up. 7 faults in the Kessy, 5 faults in the brakes, 4 central electronics. I am happy to see all these modules coming back. This is great news. I mean, it means the entire car's not dead. I'm just waiting on the BCMs to respond to tell me what's going on over there. Like, just talk to me, BCMs. Well, only the front one. The rear one doesn't matter at all. The rear one is mostly comfort and nonsense, like the trunk opener. I don't care about that. Just tell me what's going on in the front of this car. This car has had some majorly sketchy stuff done to it over the years, and unfortunately, the more stuff that I dig into, the more iffy things I find. Like wires where they've cut the insulation and slid it back and soldered more wires into it, but they're just in there, like 12-volt power wires, no insulation on them. Come on. I realize this is totally unrelated, but I just shut the door since I'm in here troubleshooting the Kessy again, trying to make sure everything's working. But listen. That thing is so loud. It does have soft closed doors. and you can barely hear the truck running once you're in here. Crazy. Anyway, our engine start stop button does work now. There's notch 1, and if we wait a second, there's our live data, and then if I hold it down, we get all 4. So it's definitely working. There you go. There's some data we wanted to see. ECM responding no, but also start procedure permitted no. So I don't think we have any power to the ECUs, and I also know that it does not want to let us start, but that may actually be based on if the ECM responds. This is the key that doesn't have the error, and it does say key condition okay, which is what we were seeing last night. More good data. Authentication okay, lock bits set yes, key ID authorized yes. I need to figure out what Immobilizer status 6 means. Well, after another fun day of troubleshooting on the Bentley, we've got a PDF full of codes and a ton of work that I've done in here trying to sort out issues. We have cleared the codes and we got no change out of it. We're getting terminal 15 implausible signal, terminal 15 short circuit to B+, a whole bunch of codes like that. And honestly, I think we're gonna have to start tracing wires down after this. And what's funny is that error comes from a whole lot of different modules. Now, on the plus side, I did find the remote for the Caliber K40. Super cool. It's magnetic. Hangs out in the center console. Like I said yesterday when we pulled this thing out, our first priority was making sure this car cranks at all. So this is the starter relay, and this is a manual starter relay. That's what we're gonna call that. So it did have this Mercedes relay in that spot, which is probably the wrong one, but there's no sense wires or anything weird. So Dan's gonna jump this thing and we're gonna take a look at the front. All right, go for it. Okay. Awesome news that we got the Bentley to crank over. And maybe I don't know what it's supposed to sound like. Honestly, it's got these tiny little cylinders. There's 12 of them in there. And the starter does turn over the engine pretty quickly. It's of course twin turbocharged. It's gonna be quiet. I mean, it's got those big old mufflers on the mufflers right there. So it may be okay. Maybe the engine's fine. Maybe the plugs are out, but it looks like it was probably just running and then it quit and people tried to troubleshoot things inside and eventually gave up. Now, there is another relay missing for the ignition system. Hopefully that one gets here tomorrow, along with some more troubleshooting tools for this car. And I think we made pretty good progress. The Immobilizer works. It turns over. I've got a lot of time to read all the PDF reports that I just got out of the thing, and I gotta go back home and compare all that to the service manual, which is amazing to have. I'll throw some of the screenshots on screen right now. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjaguar.com for cool shirts just like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. 2 takeaways from this video. A $12,000 Bentley is the most expensive Bentley there is. And number 2, if the seller says it needs keys, they're lying every time.